Hello, everyone. It's 2:04. We're not that late. Thanks for hanging around. I'm Grant Cohn. That's Nick Newman and Maverick Pallack. We got 8 topics and then trivia today. It's 49ers trivia night, although it's not night and we're not in a bar, but we can pretend because, that's the best you can do in 2021. So let's start off with the serious stuff. There's been like a new trend with the 49ers, which is right before you hit free agency, you go on Instagram Live and say that you want to come back and what you want, or that you want to leave and you're mad at the team or something like that. So Jerick McKinnon went on IG and said, F no, he's not coming back. And Jason Verrett went on with Jimmy Ward, and Jimmy Ward spoke directly to John Lynch. He's like, John and Kyle, bring Jason Verrett back, pay him what he deserves. It's like, wow. So yeah, there's 2 instances. What do you make of it, Nick?
Oh, man. Let's start with the Jimmy Ward and Jason Verrett conversation on Instagram Live. First of all, when you're approaching free agency and you have a guest on your Instagram Live, because remember, it's Jimmy Ward and Debo Samuel. Both of them are under contract, and they brought on Jason Verrett and Jerick McKinnon. What is the purpose of asking the person you're on the live stream with if they're going to come back or not? No good can come out of that, especially if you handle the answer the way that Jerick McKinnon did. But let's start out with Jimmy Ward. I thought it was somewhat disrespectful and a blatant shot at Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch to tell them to quote unquote come direct regarding Jason Verrett's contract situation. And it feeds into that narrative that the 49ers have a tendency to lowball their best players. So I was kind of caught off guard by Jimmy Ward saying that, especially after he's already received his money. He already got a contract last offseason rather. And Jason Verrett, let's give him his credit. He handled the question much more professionally than Jerick McKinnon. Jerick McKinnon, you got paid top 5, top 6 running back money after you were a scat back for 4 years with the Vikings. You didn't really deserve to be paid that much, and this team kept bringing you back, giving you chance after chance. And finally, you were able to stay healthy pretty much the entire year, and you did some nice things. But to give such a distasteful goodbye and to just show that you're excited to leave this organization that's been really, really good to you, it gets you thinking, and I went to school, I studied communication studies. I like to analyze body language and the message behind the words. So clearly there's these players feeling some type of way, and what exactly they're feeling, who knows what it is, but there's something going on that raises an eyebrow at the very least, and it's something that should be talked about. Players need to stay off Instagram Live if they're going to ask, career-related questions. So that's my rant regarding Jerick McKinnon and Jimmy Ward. And again, Jason Verrett, he handled it very professionally in comparison to Jerick McKinnon.
All I'm saying is if I were an agent and I saw my client were on Instagram Live, I would be calling him up right away. Be like, get the hell off. Get off. Get off. Don't answer the question. Maverick, what do you think? What's going on here?
I just think it's interesting. It's kind of the complete opposite of the approach to a degree of what Richard Sherman said, where Richard Sherman just was very professional with his press conference earlier in the season when he was just like, yeah, they have a lot of guys they have to re-sign, and I think they have more pressing guys, so they have to take care of them first. And Jerick McKinnon went a different route, and that's his prerogative. He can do what he wants, I guess. Now it kind of ends any possibility if there was a 0.1% chance McKinnon would re-sign, 0.001%. I think that's out the window.
I just don't understand where these guys are coming from. Noah Johnston makes a really good point. Like, the Niners stuck by Ward, Verrett, and McKinnon more than anyone. Verrett could have been done. Ward, I would have gotten rid of him. I wouldn't have stuck by McKinnon. I wouldn't have stuck by Verrett. I would have cut all of those guys years ago. And the Niners were extremely loyal, way more than most teams would be. This is how they're repaid. This is what they say on the way out. Now, from McKinnon's perspective, I don't understand what he was saying. What could he possibly be mad about? It's a very bad look for him. For Ward, I think it's a bad look too. McKinnon's leaving forgets you. I don't understand why you're not appreciative, but you're gone, your history, and you're probably bitter about your history. Maybe that's part of it. Ward, you're a team leader. Why are you doing business on Instagram Live with other I would be really confused if I were John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. Also, but the fact that he's talking directly to John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, that's what I do on YouTube. Shouldn't he have their number? Like, shouldn't they be in contact? My question is now, like, how much contact is there between the front office and the players? Because I thought that's what John Lynch was there for. I thought he was there to be the liaison. And, maybe he's kind of gotten phased out. Maybe it's more Kyle now, and Kyle isn't the most communicative person. He keeps it real in a meeting, but I don't know if it's hard to get in touch with them. It seems like there's a disconnect, and these guys are now making it public I'm just guessing. I don't know.
Yeah. It's
Weird.
speculation, but I have one more thing to add. I'm all in favor for players advocating for themselves and trying to get the contract that they feel they're worth, but there's a much better way to go about it. That it's just so mindless to talk about this on Instagram Live when the purpose of it is to have thousands of people listen to your conversation. It's just so senseless, so senseless.
So Jason Verrett's a grown-up, and I'm sure if I were him, I'd be like, dude, what are you doing asking me this question? So
Right?
he handled it fine. I
Yeah.
just can't imagine. Man, Jerick McKinnon. Oh, well, but I guess he's gone,
Yeah.
so what? It doesn't really matter.
And one more thing. So with Deebo Samuel, everybody points to his reaction and how he looked super awkward. Like, whoa, did you really just say that? What were you expecting, Deebo? You put the guy on the spot on a public
It's your
stream
fault.
saying, are you going to come back? It's your fault for asking that question. Then you're like, oh, whoops, I probably shouldn't have asked that because you just gave the most blunt answer of all time.
Also, I bet he knew the answer before he asked it.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't it a fan comment on the live
Right.
stream? Yeah.
Like, hey, they're asking, like, I'm sure Deebo knew the answer already. He wanted him to say it. I mean, you don't think they've had that conversation before? Are you coming back next year? They just like dawned on him to talk about it on Instagram Live for the first time. No, I'm sure they knew already.
The light bulb went off. This is probably an appropriate time to get to the bottom of this. Like,
Well, I think, look, like for 3-4 years, the Niners have been preaching like we're a family, we're a family, we're a family, and they, for the first time in the 4 years, they're kind of departing from that. Cap's going down, and they're going to have to make some tough decisions. And I think some people on the team are feeling a little bitter.
And I'm reading the comment section. So Horatio said Deebo didn't ask it. To clarify what happened, someone commented, "Are you coming back next year?" to Jerick McKinnon, and then Deebo was the one that said the question out loud. He's like, "Hey, look what they're asking you. Look what they're asking you."
Yeah, answer this question. All right. So hard to know, but something to keep an eye on. It seems like there are some. It should just be like a money thing. You know, a lot of people wanting to get paid, not much money, people bitter about it. I could see that. Okay, let's talk about Matthew Stafford because we haven't talked about him enough on my channel the last few hours. No, it's been reported that he wants out of Detroit, that he basically wants out. And if it were to, I mean, the Niners probably be interested. They would have the 12th pick to offer. Is Matthew Stafford worth that 12th pick? Maverick, you start.
I personally wouldn't trade if we're saying like right after the offseason end or right when the offseason starts and you're allowed to make the trade. I don't know if I would pull that trigger right away. I think I would wait a little to see what Houston does with Deshaun Watson, just because what is his asking price going to be if that ends up falling where they're just saying, okay, we got to get rid of him. If you can get Watson for less than 3 first-round picks, you got to pull that. So, and if you're looking and you just got Stafford for 1, yeah, that will be great for 2 years. But if you could get your franchise guy for a while, who knows? But Stafford for the 12th, I think, is as close to a good trade for a quarterback as I think you can get for value-wise. If you just have to trade 1 pick, I think that's a pretty good deal for the Niners.
Yeah, for me, the 12th is just too valuable. This is not a team that's going to find themselves picking in the top 15 too often. Stafford's 33 years old, and I just don't think it's worth it to part with a pick that high for a quarterback like Stafford who is reaching the tail end of his career. Yes, he's an upgrade from Jimmy Garoppolo. Absolutely. Anybody that says that Matthew Stafford is not an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo isn't watching what's going on. But I don't think he's that significant of an upgrade where you part with an asset like the 12th overall pick. Personally, I'd rather bring back Garoppolo and upgrade the backup position, whether it's in the draft or in free agency, than trade that 12th overall pick for Matthew Stafford. And I was looking at his cap hits. He's owed $33 million next season. I don't know what the 49ers would have to pay for that. So you already have all these free agents. You're losing cap space and you're losing a draft pick to replenish some of the vacancies. So I'm out on Matthew Stafford trading the first-round pick this year. If we're talking a 2022 first, sure. If we're talking a couple second-round picks, sure. But it's off limits. The 12th overall pick, is off limits in a Stafford trade.
Well, you were asking what it would cost the Niners. There is a $13 million prorated bonus, I think, this year. So I think it would cost the Niners $20. So I think the money-wise isn't it's not a deal breaker. The question is the draft capital that you're trading. And
yeah,
I framed it as, is he worth the 12th pick? Well, he would. That's two different questions there. Is he worth the 12th pick to the 49ers? You could argue that they need that 12th pick more than they need him. Also, he would fetch the Lions more than the 12th pick. He's worth more than one pick. He would get a first this year and at least a second next year, or a second this year, or a first next year. A lot of people are going to want that guy. A lot of people think he's really, really good. So is he worth the 12th pick? Yeah, because the Lions can get that plus for him. Should the Niners give it up, though? I'm not into it. I don't like it.
Either.
And let me tell you why. Like, Matthew Stafford his highlights are amazing. He's got a great arm. He has good footwork. It looks right most of the time when he plays, but I do notice that he takes a lot of hits. You know, most good quarterbacks don't. Peyton Manning didn't take a ton of hits. Tom Brady doesn't take a ton of hits. He does. And, you know, that's an issue because he'd be playing behind the worst pass protection in the league. The Niners aren't in a position to protect him. And I think you need to protect Matt Stafford or be prepared to miss him for a little bit. So that's an issue right there. And then also, I don't know if people realize it, that guy's never won a playoff game, ever. He's 0-3 in the playoffs. And again, like, it's not all his fault. He's on a bad organization. But if he's as special as people say, if he's that much better than Jimmy Garoppolo, you'd think he'd win like one playoff. He's almost 33. Like, Matt Ryan is also in a bad organization. He's been on tough teams where he's had to carry everything. Yeah. He had Julio Jones. I mean, Matthew Stafford had Calvin Johnson.
He didn't have Jim Bob Cooter as his offensive coordinator. Stafford's
Cooter's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been in situations with no run game, no defense, one wide receiver, just like Stafford. And the guy's 4-6 in the playoffs. He's made it more. We don't need to talk about Matt Ryan yet. That's next. All I'm saying is, I think I'm out on Matt Stafford too. He's a little too expensive. The Niners don't have the offensive line to protect him. And he might be just a little overrated because he throws such a pretty ball. And he really does. He really does.
Yeah. The 2021 first is off the table, but if we're talking any other draft picks, I'm down to trade for Matthew Stafford because I do think he's an upgrade. Just the margin is not enough to garnish that 12th overall pick, in my opinion.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to Matt Ryan now. I've been looking at these contracts, and it's starting to look to me like the Falcons kind of have to trade Matt Ryan. He's really way too expensive for them. He's like 20% of their cap, something crazy next year. Plus, they have the 4th pick in the draft, so they can take whoever they want and move on from Matt Ryan and start over. If that's the case, he knows the Niners system. He's had tremendous success with Kyle Shanahan. He lost the Super Bowl, but he was way better in that Super Bowl than Jimmy G was a couple of years ago. I made the case for him. I mean, one more thing that's kind of nice about the Matt Ryan thing is the Falcons can't really trade him until after June 1. Before June 1, it's like a $31 million dead cap hit, but after June 1, it's like 14. Meaning the Niners could hold on to that 12th pick and trade their 2022 first rounder and start the package there. So that's the upside. Is he worth that 2020 first round pick of the 49ers?
For me, it's too soon to say because you'd have to see how free agency shakes out and how the draft shakes out. If they don't address the quarterback position at all, and you're left with Jimmy Garoppolo, and hopefully they upgrade the backup spot, Matt Ryan at this stage of his career is still better than Jimmy Garoppolo. So I'd consider it trading that 2022 first rounder because I see this team drafting in the mid to late 20s. You know, it's also too early to say that, but if they get back to where they were last year, that's where they should be. I don't really want a part of Matt Ryan, but I'd consider it.
My hesitation with Matt Ryan, at least, is you were talking about Jimmy Garoppolo in the Super Bowl, but I believe Matt Ryan took a really bad sack in that Super Bowl that they lost, and he's taken a lot of sacks this year. And if they're not able to re-sign Trent Williams, get Alex Mack or Corey Linsley and get a right guard, I don't think Ryan would be able to make it the whole 16 games just because this offensive line would really struggle. He's not that mobile. But as you said, Grant, they're at that 4th pick, and they hired Arthur Smith, who likes a mobile quarterback that can throw on the run, and that might make Ryan pretty available. So if they can get him for a 2022 pick, that'd be interesting. The bonus is they get to see how the draft plays out. So maybe they can get Rashawn Slater or whoever with that 12th pick, a cornerback, and be more flexible in that sense.
Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I like this option because it seems to me that like he's gonna be available. They gotta get rid of him. They're gonna be in position to take a quarterback and he's to draft one, and he's too expensive. Also, he knows the system. He could hit the ground running. You get to keep that 2021 pick, which you could use on an offensive lineman. You know what I'm saying? You could take the best offensive lineman available, re-sign Trent Williams, and play that guy at guard. And if Mike McGlinchey stinks, you can move him to tackle. You could have an actual plan B for Mike McGlinchey. That sounds pretty good. And then you're worried like, yeah, you're trading a 2022 first round pick though for a guy who's going to be like 37 in 2022. That's kind of tough. A guy like if they did trade it for Matt Ryan, he would only be on the team for 2 years, maybe 3, and then you'd be grooming someone else. So that's tough. But at the same time, you could get those picks back. Here's what I'm saying. You could trade. We could talk about this later, but you could always trade Debo for a first. You could trade Ayuk for a first. You could trade there's any Kittle. You could trade Bosa. There are ways to get that pick back. And again, if you get Matt Ryan and you're as good as you think you're going to be with Matt Ryan, who never misses games, then you're trading a late first round pick in 2022. It's not a huge asset to depart with. So to me, it kind of makes sense. What they do is you trade for Matt Ryan after June 1. In the meantime, you take an offensive lineman at 12 and your favorite quarterback available in round 2, groom him for 2 years, and have him be ready in 2023 when Matt Ryan's done. I kind of like it. Makes sense to me. Well, I mean, if Aaron Rodgers is available, do that. But I think something weird would have to happen on Sunday.
Are we sure it's a first-round pick even is what it would take to get Ryan? Because wouldn't it be similar, I think, at least to the Alex Smith deal where it was a second-round pick and a player, I think, with the Washington-Kansas City trade. So is it even a first-round pick? So that does make it a little more interesting in that sense. But, I mean, that's 6 months from now. So who knows how it plays out.
So, yeah, but I guess if Falcons take a quarterback with that 4th pick, the Niners have to be ready because that means that Ryan's available and he might be their best option. He's definitely an upgrade. And you mentioned he took a sack in the Super Bowl. True. That was bad. His quarterback rating in the Super Bowl was 144. He threw, I think he was 17 of 23 for 260 and 2 touchdowns. He was way better than Jimmy G. And if the Niners had Matt Ryan in 2019, I think they would have won that sucker. So something to think about. Unless Aaron Rodgers is.
I'd imagine, or I want to know what this has nothing to do with it, but what his QBR was in the second half, because that second half was. It
would be interesting to know. It would be interesting. All right.
I don't know the math.
But if they bring in Matt Ryan, they got to improve that offensive line. If they bring in any quarterback, they got to improve the offensive line. That's what makes this offseason so difficult. All right. Speaking of the offensive line, I guess, Daniel Jeremiah came out with his first mock draft today. And he gave the Niners not an offensive lineman or a quarterback, a tight end, Kyle Pitts, who's a freaking stud. I love Kyle Pitts. He might end up being the best non-quarterback from this draft. He's really good, but he's not an offensive lineman and he's not a quarterback. Now, the reason Daniel Jeremiah went with Pitts is because the top 4 guys were gone at this point. He went Wilson 2, Lance 4, Fields 8, and they were out. So are you cool with Pitts if those 4 guys are off the board?
Mav, I go.
Yeah, I can start off. I think I saw that he had Penei Sewell at 10. So, I mean, I know there's no trades in mock drafts usually, but if there's an offensive lineman at 10 and the Niners can go grab someone like Sewell or Slater, I would seriously consider that. But if there are no trades and Pitts is the best available, I think he is worth a pick, but I don't know if he just fits what the Niners need. I like picking the best player available, and Pitts probably would be at that range. But to pass up all the cornerbacks and to pass up all the offensive linemen, that I think doesn't really help the Niners in the short term.
Pitts is a unnecessary luxury. That's the way I see it. They're not in a position where they can draft best player available right now. And you look at all the free agents set to hit the market. So that move of selecting Pitts does not make a whole lot of sense to me. The fanboy in me would love to see it because he's a very exciting weapon. And who doesn't like to see an exciting offense? You look at the Kansas City Chiefs and all the skill position players they have flying around all over the field. It would be exciting, but it's just not the correct move. Drafting Pitts does not make them more of a championship contender than addressing the offensive line, the edge rushing position, or the secondary.
Yeah, it's enticing because I really love that prospect. I think he could be a Hall of Famer. Like he reminds me of Travis Kelce with speed and maybe even a little bit better of a blocker too. He was always open when he was playing. It's like Trask could have thrown to him every single time. But again, if they took him, it would be like last year, drafting to improve a strength rather than address a weakness. And they can't do that. Their offensive line is way too much of a liability for them to be adding on to strengths. That's the kind of thing you do when your team is set, and they're not. They're in denial if they don't take an offensive lineman. I mean, if they go into the draft with the same exact offensive line as last season, and they don't really address it, I don't know what they were looking at. No, you can't do it. Maybe there's a scenario, and real quick, I'm starting to think that it's not a certainty that Trent Williams is coming back. That's a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like the Buckner thing. Like, yeah, you're great, but if we bring you back, we have to say goodbye to a whole hell of a lot of people. If we let you go, though, we can bring back Verrett, Tart, all these people we want to bring back. So maybe they let Williams go, sign the third best left tackle in the market, sign a center, and actually, or a guard who can play tackle. And now you're in a position where you could take Kyle Pitts at 12. In that case, maybe you could do it. I don't know. You have to get creative about it, though.
Definitely.
A bunch of starters in free agency, which is tough.
You better get comfortable with Alejandro Villanueva then if you're going free agent route. I think they got to draft someone if they don't get Trent Williams for that left tackle.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been jumping on Alejandro Villanueva this year, and maybe he had a bad PFF score, but this other website that I use that Josh Dubow of Associated Press told me about, Sys Data Hub, had him ranked very high in 2020. So I don't know.
I don't know how the stats work on that, but Pittsburgh, I think, had the quickest time to throw this year, so that might have helped him. He's a good left tackle, but I think the market will drive his price up, and I think just the benefit of having Williams. But like you said, if Williams is 26 million or 24 million,
this guy's 10 less.
Yeah,
it's something to think about. Because you're taking a step down at left tackle, but the money you save gives you a starting center. So would you rather have Trent Williams or two starters? Because if you have Trent Williams, you might have a backup level player like Hronis Grasu. Should the Niners sign Aldon Smith? He's gonna be a free agent. He was on the team. Kind of a tragic story the way his career ended here, but it's an amazing story how he's gotten his career back together. Would it be worth it?
Yeah, Aldon Smith, the players definitely work it. The 49ers have a weakness at the speed rushing, edge rushing position. D Ford was brought in to be that speed rusher, and we saw it at times in 2019, and that element wasn't really on the defense. You had Dion Jordan and Jordan Willis are two guys that I'm high on that kind of replicate Ford's playing style. Aldon Smith, is he that much of an upgrade over Jordan Willis and Dion Jordan at this stage of his career? Maybe. I would just prefer, for his own sake, for him to stay away from the Bay Area. Just, you're on a great track right now. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't come back this way. That's my 2 cents on Aldon Smith.
Interesting.
I think Aldon Smith should stick with wherever Jim Sula goes. I don't know if the Cowboys retained him when they hired Dan Quinn, but go follow Tom Sula or head to Denver if he and Vic Fangio had a good relationship. I think he should stick with favorable systems and favorable environments, like Nick said. Keep on the right track because everyone wants Aldon Smith to be playing football. He's a good football player, and the best way to do that is to stay in favorable places.
Okay. I hear what you're saying. I don't know if the Bay Area is a trigger for him, but it did seem like he was maybe an alcoholic, maybe. It seemed like that was an issue. Like he had big issues with alcohol at a young age, and it ruined his career. But it seems like he's got it going. I mean, got his life back on track. It seemed like he's a productive professional member of the Cowboys. He played well this year. He's not old. Is he even 30? Is he 30? He might be 30 years old. I mean,
yeah, I'll look it up right now while you're going on.
He's going to be one of these veterans who's going to be squeezed out in this 180 million pandemic salary cap. He won't command a lot of money. You probably get him on a 1-year deal, maybe $2 million, maybe less. I think it would be a hell of a story. Guy got his life back together, gets another chance to come back to the team where he set records. I think it'd be really cool.
It would
and
be.
I don't think necessarily he would have like a relapse. because he's in the Bay. I don't know. They should at least investigate it because it's a cool story and he's still a hell of a player, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He could fit a free defense, have him come off the bench and let him work with Chris Kosarick, who's just as good as Jim Tomsula. I'd be interested.
I'd definitely be interested too. And I agree with what you said earlier about the Bay Area not necessarily being a trigger because he had so much other stuff going on. You know, it's pure speculation. What I'm
around here triggers to him. Who knows? Yeah.
So a lot of variables, but I think you can bring back Dion Jordan and Jordan Willis for the same price as Alden Smith. So I think you'd have more depth keeping those two guys than dishing out $4 or $5 million for Alden Smith. I don't know what exactly he met. But, you know, it was his first year back after 6 years. He's going to be 31, 32. I literally just looked it up. I don't know how it slipped my mind. But, yeah, I think they're better sticking with Jordan Willis. He looked promising. But it would be a hell of a story. And I would love
sign
to
them all. I mean, I'm sure it would cost you like $350. You know what I mean?
You might be able to get all three of those guys for the price of Kerry Hyder.
That's what I'm saying. I would definitely rather sign Alden Smith than Kerry Hyder.
How about he heads to Jacksonville with Balky and that fun place? They got the.
I wouldn't be surprised. You know, I really wouldn't be surprised. That's one of his most prized draft picks of all time, Alden Smith. I mean, they brought Bruce Miller back. That guy had like 8 felony charges, or 7. One player the Niners should trade before the end of his rookie deal. This is an academic discussion. I'm not saying I'm forcing you to pick one player. You think that I'm forcing you to pick a player that you're saying that you're arguing the Niners should trade rather than give a second contract. So you have to pick someone, even if you don't believe it. Who is it?
So who we think they should trade, or who we think is most likely to?
Who you would pick as the one guy the Niners should flip rather than extend?
I'll let Nick go first because I have a couple.
Okay. Man, this is tough because I feel like it contradicts my stance on why I was so up in arms over the DeForest Buckner trade, because I'm a true believer in you draft and you extend your guys. I really do believe that's one of the better ways to build a football team. But I also get the argument of the benefits of having a player on a rookie contract and getting something in return before you have to pay them all this money. So when you look at the 49ers roster and guys that they drafted recently who could be in this conversation, Nick Bosa, I'm not trading Nick Bosa. He's a cornerstone defensive end. Maybe my opinion on him changes depending on how he comes back from his ACL. This is the second time he tore his ACL. He also tore it in high school. So I'm not trading Bosa. I think Brandon Ayuk has the potential to be a very good wide receiver in the NFL, top 15, top 10. Deebo Samuel's the one name that I think you might be able to get decent trade value for. I don't see it being a first-round pick, but you might be able to get a day 2 pick. And the reason why I look into Harding Samuel is if you upgrade at the quarterback position, you don't need to use him extensively as an extension of the ground game. And he also has such a deep injury history and I think that hurts his trade value, but he's the one guy I'd monitor. But I really, really like Deebo Samuel in this offense. I'm more in favor of trading guys like Jaquaski Tart or K'Wan Williams, who have already gotten their second contract and are getting ready to hit the market again. I think the 49ers missed an opportunity there at the trade deadline in the season this past year, because now you're going to get nothing except for maybe compensatory picks for those guys. So Deebo Samuel, since I have to pick one for Grant, I'm going to go Deebo Samuel.
Got to pick one. Good call.
You were mad about the compensatory picks, and that's all I picked for my guys. So I said a similar thing to what Martin Mayhew did when he came to the 49ers from the Lions and got Laken Tomlinson for a 5th-round pick. I could see Mike McGlinchey and Justin School eventually being traded for 7th-round picks, and even Tarvarius Moore. Who knows what the Browns or Jets? The Jets need a lot of safeties. If they could get Tarvarius Moore for a 5th or 6th-round pick, and the Niners are willing to move on because they saw what they needed to see this year, if he's a starter or not, who knows? So those would be my 3 guys I think would be the most likely to be traded before the end of their rookie deal. And if I had to pick one, obviously it'd be McGlinchey and move on from right tackle, because if another team can fix what's wrong with them, that'd go a long way. I could see the Jets going that route. If Benton was a big fan of him, who knows? 7th-round pick, I think both teams would seriously consider it.
Yeah. The way I'm looking at this is I'm trying to pick a player who's good and could get a lot back, but is also going to be really expensive in free agent, like a guy who's going to be like too expensive. So I'm thinking, also I want to win the trade. Like if you traded Deebo Samuel and you get a first, well, you picked him in the second. That's where you improved on the value of that pick. So that's cool. The thing about Brandon Ayuk is, wide receivers are really expensive. Is a possibility that Deebo and Ayuk could be super duper expensive on their second contracts if they have big seasons coming up. The thing about Ayuk is the Niners traded up for him in the first round. So trading him would be hard because you seem like you'd be losing that trade. So to me, the answer here is Nick Bosa. Even though he's excellent, he's going to get way more than Aaron Donald. He's going to get more than his brother. When he gets that contract, assuming that he doesn't tear his ACL again, that he has 2 more, 16-game seasons and plays really well, he's going to be the highest paid defensive player of all time. He's going to get like $30 million a season baseline. And I wouldn't pay that to a quarterback, let alone a defensive end. And I think you could get 2 first-round picks for him. People love Nick Bosa. They think he's the greatest player of all time. So great, you take those 9.5 sacks and give me 3 first-round picks, and we'll move on. And I'll find a way to win without Nick Bosa or to have, play defense without him the way the Niners did this year. So Bosa for sure. Deebo is as a close number 2.
Yeah, and I'm following along to the comments. This would, if you trade Nick Bosa or Deebo, well, with Ayuk and Bosa, at least they have so many years remaining left on their contract. Bosa's under contract for 3 more years, so this is way down the road, and we'd see how his injuries shake out. So it's not we're not advocating for this stuff to happen right now. It's just when their rookie contracts are set to expire.
That's right. Yep. And you want to sell high, like you're not going to trade Bosa right off an ACL tear. Or you're not going to trade Deebo Samuel right off a 7-game season. You're like, if Bosa comes out next year and has 15 sacks and is worth the Deshaun Watson trade, well, I'm thinking about it, So we got a quick question from the King James. This is actually LeBron James. So LeBron, thank you. A very generous tip from LeBron, who takes care of his people. I don't hear media covering the power Watson has with the no trade clause. It's true. What if Watson says he'll only sign with one team and will sit in Houston? It's true. Wouldn't that limit the amount of assets Texans get? Well, absolutely, yes.
I feel like he would have said the team by now if he was only considering one team, because he's not really holding back on social media anyways. Don't you think? Like he would have said that team he was interested in. And I get the whole sitting out 1 year, but what happens after you sit out that 1 year? You're still under contract for a couple more years. So you really need that one team to go all out for you. I can see a scenario where you really want to go to the 49ers or really want to go to Miami, but I don't think he would flat out reject a deal to go to the other.
Yeah. Wow, I just lost my train of thought. So Watson definitely has a lot more leverage in saying this than people are putting out there. And oh man, Grant, you're gonna have to take it away. I forgot where I was going with it. Oh, thank you.
I got you. It seems to me that that's like what happens in the NBA, right? A player says, I want to go to the Nets. I want to go play with Kevin Durant. I want to play with I want to go play with Steph Curry. That's what's happening. It doesn't seem like that's Deshaun Watson's angle here. It's not like, hey, I just want to go play with my boys in Miami. Sorry. It's like, no, I have a real beef with the ownership in Houston. Like something's wrong here. They might be racist. They might be incompetent. All this stuff is going on. I think he's just trying to get like an exit out of this place. And so I think he would be open to more than one place. I'm just guessing. Yeah. I don't think he's just saying, like, I got to go to Miami. Now, what were you going to say?
Well, thank you for letting me get my thoughts back here. To go back to what Maverick was saying, I don't think if he did have one team in mind, I don't think he'd come out publicly and say that, because then everything's set on fire. And I do think he's been doing a very good job of walking a fine line and making these comments on Twitter that are kind of pushing buttons but aren't necessarily crossing boundaries, because right now everything is speculation as far as who can offer the most, and who can offer the most might become irrelevant, because if Deshaun Watson doesn't want to go there, he has the power to decline that trade. So the person, LeBron James, who's asking this question, is definitely correct that there's leverage that Watson possesses as far as a say goes, is where he could potentially end up. And I think he's been doing a pretty good job of walking that fine line of making these little snarky comments, but not going too far. And he does hold the power to kind of determine his landing spot.
All right. Biggest reason for optimism heading into the next season? Maverick, you go. Because you're an optimistic chap.
I'm the optimistic one here. Okay. Biggest reason for optimism, you still have Nick Bosa, you still have Fred Warner, and although you have a new defensive coordinator, you have a lot of cornerstones at every level, especially if you're able to re-sign Jason Verrett or draft a corner in the first round, you would have a pretty good defense still. And I think Kyle Shanahan, as we saw, as long as there's competence each week at quarterback, I think they can hang in every single game.
Yeah, I'm with Maverick. You have a fifth-year head coach who has had the last 4 years to digest what it's like being a head coach in the NFL, and the cornerstones are what stands out to me. Trent Williams, I have on my cornerstone list, so if you lose him, that's huge, and that really brings down my optimism level, my how optimistic I am. But Brandon Ayuk's a cornerstone, Deebo Samuel's a cornerstone, George Kittle. I like to put Dre Greenlaw on that list with Fred Warner and Nick Bosa. So you have enough players to keep you competitive, and it really just comes down to how you handle this offseason to get you back to where you need to be. But you have enough in place already as it is.
Okay. My biggest reason for optimism is, well, two things. One, the schedule is easy next year. They're playing a bunch of last place teams. Two, I think this pandemic and this lowered salary cap is going to play into the Niners' hands because it's going to force a lot of teams to trade their highly paid quarterbacks, teams that didn't expect that they were going to have to trade them, teams like Atlanta, teams like Detroit, teams like Green Bay maybe. And so all of a sudden there's going to be this market for quarterbacks who are way cheaper for the team trading for them than the team dealing them because of that prorated bonus, because of the $60 million signing bonus they were given by the previous team that is not the new team isn't responsible for. So I feel like the Niners have an ace up their sleeve that they're going to find a way to improve at quarterback, and that's going to go a long, long way because, the Niners had a lot of injuries in 2020. They also had a lot of injuries in 2019. The difference is that the quarterback stayed healthy in 2019. In 2020, he didn't. And even when he was healthy, he stunk. So if they could just get 16 games out of Matt Ryan or Matthew Stafford or whoever, I think they're right back where they need. I think they're right back in the NFC Championship game, or at least they're competing with Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. So that's one reason for optimism, an impending solution to the quarterback conundrum. Now let's put it the other way. What is the biggest concern heading into next season?
Not having Robert Saleh, that has to be the biggest concern because he, time and time again, has had a great defense the last 2 years. And even this year, despite all the injuries, the defense continued to put their best foot forward. I have a lot of faith in DeMeco Ryans, but anytime you lose a coach that was looked at in the light as greatly as Robert Saleh, it's a cause for concern.
My biggest concern is the offensive line, just because I think they need a good running game, and I think they need to keep their quarterback upright. And if they lose Trent Williams, if they don't draft one of those guys in the first 2 rounds that a lot of people like, then they're in trouble because Mike McGlinchey is probably the 3rd or 4th best offensive lineman on that line. And we all were in agreement last year that he is not an NFL starter. At least last year he wasn't. He might improve, but he was not very good last year, and he's probably the 3rd best player on the line next year if they don't acquire anyone.
Yeah, to me, I'm with Maverick, and I'm going to go a step further and be more specific. It's McGlinchey. Because I feel like the Niners are going to address center. They're going to get a center, or they're going to get a guard, or they'll get both. But what I'm worried about for them is that how the utter denial they're in about their right tackle. Not just that he's awful, but that they would have drafted him again. Like the stuff they say, like are you not even going to bring in someone who can compete with him? Are you not even going to have a plan B? Because if you don't, oh man, whoever your next quarterback you bring in, you're asking for him to get hurt. So that's my biggest concern heading into next season. McGlinchey denial. I feel like they're going to address everything they need to address except for that. Maybe they're just saying what they need to say, and they got a plan to trade him to. Maybe they'll Jimmy Garoppolo at the last minute. They're like, hey, look, we got a condition. We got a condition here. You got to take McGlinchey too. Sorry. Maybe it'll work. You know what? I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they're going to get rid of McGlinchey too, or at least have some really good fallback plan that they take with the 12th pick or something. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. They watched the tape. You don't have to be a football expert to look at McGlinchey and be like, yeah, something's wrong. I mean, how many parody videos of him are out on the internet right now? It's a bad word.
Yeah.
Another concern, just on a personal level, is they don't fix the quarterback situation, and we just have to argue about quarterbacks for another year because I'm running out of comments to make. I just need certainty at quarterback.
Yeah.
All right, let's do trivia, man. I think it's trivia time.
Oh, okay.
It's trivia time.
Let's pull it up.
Oh,
then.
There we go. All right.
So it's mostly there's an NFC Championship category, and then like a last second wins category, and then yesterday was like the day of 21 or whatever. I'm sure you saw on Twitter where it was the 21st day of the 21st year of the 21st century and stuff. So it's a 21 themed question.
Okay.
And then and then Final Jeopardy. So we'll start with last second wins.
All right.
And we're adding one more thing. I forgot. Grant and Nick are both allowed one ask the audience question where they can use it and go to the comments and use someone's answer to help them out. So we'll see when they use that.
Okay.
But okay, we're starting with last second wins.
I'm gonna turn off. I don't want to look at the comments now because that's
private chat.
Yeah.
Chat.
So last second wins. What player is first to celebrate with Vernon Davis after his game-winning touchdown versus New Orleans in the 2012 divisional game? The guy that
I know. Joe. No, it's just that guy's on Comedy Central.
Nick, do you have an answer?
Joe Staley.
No, it's Justin Peele.
Justin Peele.
Oh my God!
It was Justin Peele.
Oh.
That guy was like the 4th-string tight end on that team.
Oregon guy, I'm pretty sure.
Do I get half a point for that? No. Who is Peele? No.
Yeah.
No, I don't get it. I kind of knew it though. 81 was 81. I could see
yeah.
it.
Yeah, you were right, but you went with the more famous option. Yeah.
Jordan Peele.
Hell
of an actor.
Yeah. Good director, right? Who hit more game winners for the 49ers as of right now? Phil Dawson or Robbie Gould?
Robbie Gould.
No, Phil Dawson. It's definitely Phil Dawson.
It is Robbie Gould with 6.
Nice.
Phil Dawson had 5 if you count playoffs.
Wow. What about David Akers?
What about Joe Nedney?
Joe Nedney and David Akers. Joe Nedney, I think, won every single game the Niners won in his tenure in the last second, honestly, because they scored like 19 points a game. Yeah. Who teamed up for – by the way, these are all 2010s last second victories. Okay. So, yeah. So who teamed up for the 71-yard touchdown in overtime to beat the Bears in 2015?
Ooh. Blaine Gabbert.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
To
Torrey Smith.
Oh, so you both get it.
We both get it. Yeah. That was the one good thing Torrey Smith
did.
Yeah. That contract was fun.
Because we both have half a point. No, we both have one.
You don't have to even add points because they just cancel each other out unless you just want more. You want more fireworks.
We're even.
Yeah.
I'm up 1-0 for the Robbie Gould.
Oh, you got Robbie Gould.
Yeah.
I tried to sneak that in.
Mm-hmm.
Colin Kaepernick scored a game-winning 2-point conversion to beat the Rams 22-21 on Christmas Eve 2016. What former Raider receiver caught the touchdown to set up Kaepernick's last win as 49er?
Rod Streeter.
Rod Streeter is correct.
Game.
Nice.
Rod Streeter. Whew. I needed that one.
That was such the 2016. It's the most forgettable season for me. That
I remember that night because it was
Christmas
Eve, and I was late to Christmas Eve, and I was really looking forward to writing about the Niners losing, and then they won. I was like, oh my God, I have to praise them, and I'm late to the party. This is the worst night ever. It's the worst Christmas. 0 to 5. All right, let's keep going.
Robbie Gould hit 2 game-winning kicks in Garoppolo's first season as a 49er. Who were they against?
Tennessee, Chicago.
The Titans. Oh man! Oh, he beat
not
me
quick enough.
I know.
I'm up 1. I'm up 1. I had to. You were bringing the pressure.
The year of 21. So that's this category. All the players are. The theme of the players are their jersey was number 21 with the Niners.
Oh no! Okay.
What are the 5 teams Frank Gore has played for?
The Colts, the 49ers, the Jets, the Bills, and the 49ers,
the
Colts,
Ravens,
Jets, Bills.
No, wait, the Eagles.
No. Wait.
Wasn't
Oh
he on
man.
the Eagles for like a
Wait. Okay.
second?
Grant's eliminated already. He gave out 2 false answers. I know. Oh man. He
Just keep
went
distracting him,
to
Grant.
the Niners and the Colts, then the Bills, the Jets.
You can use your phone a friend. There's a lot of
okay. I want to call in on the audience on this one.
yeah. Check the comments.
All right, let's the Dolphins.
Yes.
Oh yeah, he's on the Dolphins.
Yeah, he had a brief homecoming in Miami, and then
Didn't he almost get traded to the Eagles for a second, then it didn't go through?
Shout out
They got
when
DeMarco Murray instead.
Ben Allen. Ben Allen came through on that one with the dolphin emoji. Shout out Ben.
I didn't know he was rumored for the Eagles. That would have been interesting. He would have during the Chip Kelly era.
Yeah, and then they ended up getting DeMarco Murray instead.
Oh.
That's and then anyway. So it's even again.
This,
for me to pull it.
This 49er cornerback played all 10 years of his career for San Francisco and won 4 rings.
Eric Wright.
Wait.
Yes.
What do you mean wait?
Oh, 21. Okay, yeah.
+1. We out here. Let's go.
I forgot the subject area.
Dion Sanders had a league-leading 303 interception return yards on 6 interceptions in his 1 year for San Francisco, but he did not lead the team in interceptions. Who did?
Merton Hanks.
Merton Hanks is correct.
Oh man, there you go, Grant.
I was gonna say Eric Davis, but no, Merton Hanks was a ball hawk.
Throwback to Sean's question a few weeks ago. Eric Wright was one of 3 defensive backs picked in the 81 draft that would go on to start that Super Bowl winning season. Ranked the 3 in order of career interceptions with San Francisco.
Ronnie Lott.
Eric Wright. Carlton Williamson.
Grant's correct.
There you go, Grant.
+3. Oh.
Mind you, I wasn't alive for any of this. Just going to throw that out there as Grant.
I wasn't either. Grant wasn't alive in 81.
I wasn't.
No, true.
I needed to know it. Your dad was at those games. I saw that meme, that GIF. That was. Did you know that GIF was floating out there, or just looking around like?
I didn't know the GIF. I saw that, but I know he's been on TV a lot of times because.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, but I thought it was hilarious. The 49ers have gone through 12 starting running backs since Frank Gore. Name them. So there's 12 running backs.
Can we go back and forth?
Yeah, we're going back and forth.
All right. Carlos Hyde.
That's one.
Devin Coleman.
Yeah.
Sean Drone. Sean Drone definitely squeezed in a start once upon a time.
Sean Drone is correct.
Mostert's
correct.
We said starting running backs?
Yeah, to get a start, they got a start or more.
Jerick McKinnon, because Coleman and McKinnon's on there. Mm-hmm.
Wilson Jr., Jeff Wilson Jr.
Yeah, so there's 6 more.
Alfred Morris.
Alfred Morris did get a start, yes.
Matt Breida
is correct. So 4 more. This is where it gets dicey.
I'm going to go Dwayne Harris.
Oh, that was actually the guy I was going to say. That's not his name, though. It's not Dwayne.
Yeah. Oh,
Dwayne Harris. But yeah. So there's 2 more. 3 more. Both with a start in their career. And, yeah.
No.
Mike Davis.
Sleeve. Oh, wow.
Mike Davis is correct. He had 1. If you want to use your phone a friend, Grant, there is a correct answer in the group chat.
Yeah, I'm owed one. Oh, snap. Hasty started a game?
No, don't use that.
He locked.
No, he didn't lock it in, did he?
Oh, I'm out.
It was
I'm still up 2, baby.
Reggie Bush had a start. Jared Hayne had a start, and then Nick got Mike Davis.
Oh, wow. Jared Bush and Jared Hayne. I wasn't in the game.
Wow. Yes, someone commented that Australian guy, and Ben Allen did.
He started a game?
Hey, Ben Allen, that's the second time he got one. Attaboy, Ben Allen.
Well, Reggie Bush, I didn't know he ever got a start. That was interesting to me when I saw that.
Didn't he fall on like some thing?
Yeah, on the cement or on the field.
Suit him, yeah.
Okay. Final category.
3-2, right?
3. No, I'm up 2, I thought.
Yeah, no. I thought it was 3-1. I got a point right there.
All right, fine. I don't care. I'm gonna win anyway. Doesn't matter.
No. All right, 3-2.
NFC Championships.
Okay.
So the 49ers have the most NFC Championship appearances, according to this Wikipedia page I found,
Yeah.
and have played 8 teams. Who are the 4 teams they've played more than once?
The Packers.
That's 1. Grant, your turn.
Can you repeat the question? I wasn't paying attention.
So the 49ers have the most NFC Championship appearances with 16 and have played 8 teams. Who are the 4 teams they've played more than once?
Oh, man. The Giants.
That is correct.
If they made 8 championship appearances and they played 4 teams more than one.
They've played 8 teams. So,
don't look at the comments.
Multiple times,
I got another one. I'm ready.
Oh, the Cowboys.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah. Okay. So Grant to tie it.
So there's a 4th team that they've played more than once in the NFC Championship?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. It's not. Oh, man.
Jackhammer has it in the comments.
Can't phone him.
And so does Art Renoy.
Dang. I was going to say Seattle, but it's not Seattle. So who is it?
It's the Bears.
The Bears.
In the 80s, they played them twice. And then the other teams, they played Washington, the Rams, Seattle, and Atlanta. Obviously, the last 2 from the 2000s.
All right, so it's tied now. It's all tied up.
3-3, baby.
The 49ers beat Green Bay in the 2020 NFC Championship behind Raheem Mostert's 4 touchdowns. Mostert was so successful, Jimmy Garoppolo only had to throw 8 times. I think we all know that. Who were the 4 players that caught passes from Garoppolo in the game?
Deebo Samuel.
Can I get a chance?
Yeah.
I get a chance. George Kittle.
Nick?
Kendrick Bourne.
Yeah. Okay. Grant to tie it.
Emmanuel Sanders.
No, he did not catch one. Raheem Mostert caught 2 passes for 6 yards.
Oh, man. How could I forget those 6 yards?
Yeah. They were probably important.
All right. Well, Nick pulls ahead.
I got the lead.
So this is from reading online. So if I read a false article, I'm sorry. But in the catch, who was the first read for the sprint right option?
Brady Solomon. Bingo. I'm back in this game. Let's go. He slipped.
Yep.
In the 2014 NFC Championship game versus Seattle, Colin Kaepernick with 130 yards and Marshawn Lynch with 109 yards led their team in rushing yards. Who had the 3rd most rushing yards in that game with 16?
Frank Gore.
Nick, do you have an answer?
Well, the 3rd most on the Niners or in the game?
In the game.
Oh, Russell Wilson, maybe.
16. I have this crazy outside the box answer that I'll save. I'll go Russell Wilson.
Roy DeWan was correct in the comments. It was Kendall Hunter with 16 yards. I believe Frank Gore had 14 on 11 carries, and Russell Wilson had 0 rushing yards on 5 attempts.
That was such an amazing performance by Colin Kaepernick until he threw 4 picks in the 4th quarter. Was it 3? No, 3 picks and a fumble.
Yeah, well, they would have lost by 30 if they didn't have him.
You're right.
But, okay, finale of this one. In the 2013 NFC Championship versus Atlanta, Frank Gore, Vernon Davis, Julio Jones, and Tony Gonzalez combined for 6 touchdowns. Who scored San Francisco's first touchdown?
LaMichael James.
This is LaMichael James.
And what's the fun fact about that touchdown?
It was his only career touchdown in his
his
entire
only
NFL career.
Yeah.
Nice.
Another duck. I had to throw in as many duck questions as I could. So is it tied?
No, I just took the lead.
Okay.
LaMichael James.
On 1 point? By 1 point?
By 1 point.
Okay, so then there is a chance for Grant to take the lead. It's the final Jeopardy question. We'll do our usual thing where you can go back and forth.
Okay.
All right.
The 49ers had 13 different players score touchdowns this season. Name as many of the 13 without getting one wrong. And then the tiebreaker is you have to say who had the most.
Okay, I'm going first because he goes first every time. I'm going first this time.
Okay.
Jeff Wilson Jr.
Oh, no, he had the most. All right. Raheem Mostert.
Okay.
Kittle.
Yeah.
McKinnon.
Yep.
Ayuk.
Yep.
Samuel.
Yep. He only had one, believe it or not.
I believe it.
Against the Rams.
Jordan Reed.
Yep.
Kendrick Bourne.
Mm-hmm.
Ross Dwelly.
Yes.
Ooh.
We're at 9?
Yeah, we're at 9 out of 13.
9 out of 13. And these are Are we counting defensive touchdowns?
We're counting touchdowns.
Javon Kinlaw.
Oh, snap.
So there's 3 more.
Okay, I'm trying to think about all the Dante Pettis touchdowns. I don't think he had one this year. Fairly certain.
Horatio's got it like 12 times in the comments.
Okay, I don't think there was Trent Taylor. I don't think he scored one. Oh, Kyle Juszczyk.
Yep.
Oh, that's a good one. That was a good one.
2 more.
Man, was there a quarterback that rushed for a touchdown?
Why would I want to go first? Because now I have to do an extra one. I'm an idiot. Math is so hard.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, but you need the extra one because you were down
True.
1.
Good point. It works out.
So 2 more. They were in the middle of the season.
In the middle of the season. I'm thinking like the Green Bay game.
Ben Allen has it. A lot of people have this one in the comments.
Seattle game. I'm trying to recall.
I got 2 names, but I don't feel too confident about either one.
There's got to be one more on defense, wasn't there?
Nick, if you want to pass to Grant and he gets it wrong, then
what?
That's a fair way to do it, right? Then
All
we
right.
kind of just
I'll
tie.
pass to Grant. Okay.
Okay. Fred Warner.
that's incorrect. So now it's
Is
a
it
7
Richie James? Or was that wrong too?
Richie James is
Yeah.
correct. So
Oh.
Nick gets one less guess to win. There's one last touchdown.
Oh, I shouldn't have done that. My bad.
Wait, Maverick, repeat that one more time.
There's one last touchdown. If you get it, you win.
There's only one touchdown left.
Yeah, one guy.
Oh man.
So many the comments are losing it because they've been saying it the whole time. But
Oh, is that obvious?
no, you said the game already.
Oh, I said the Packers in Seattle. But the Packers was Richie James's big game.
It was so close to being River Craycraft, but it wasn't.
What? I had no. River Craycraft came to mind.
I said Reed. I see the answer now because I'm looking at the comments. I wouldn't have gotten this guy.
Was it the Seattle game? I know Nick Mullins had those 2
Stop
touchdown
trying to get
drives.
information.
Yeah,
You lose.
Yeah. No more
I'm
cheating.
trying to recall 2 touchdown drives at the end of the
We're at
Packers game.
58:07 on the stream. If it gets to 59, Grant gets the win.
Oh man, the win. Okay. Oh,
Yeah, it's a delay game on.
It's tied right now because you haven't got this last one, and Grant got the tiebreaker by saying Wilson who had the most.
the Packers game. That's when everybody was out with the COVID scare. Who caught that second touchdown? Man, this is gonna drive me crazy.
It's crazy. Everyone knows it too.
Everyone in the world knows this, but you. So this is
so funny.
Man,
You don't get it. You don't know.
I'm gonna say Nick Mullins.
Oh,
that's incorrect. Do you? Grant looked, but you want to give the honors?
Sure. They say it's Jermichael Hasty.
He did get, I believe it was a 1-yard rush against Seattle.
I had the wrong game. Well, yeah, okay. Man.
Or Jermichael. We forgot.
His first career touchdown too.
How could you forget?
Yeah. Well,
so was that Final Jeopardy?
That was Final
it.
Jeopardy.
That was a good one.
So what's
that
the
was
score,
a good.
Grant? Did you win?
I think it was a tie, basically.
Okay.
I can't take the win.
So we're going into another week with you guys tied. That's great.
Yeah. Well, next week I'm gonna take him down.
Next week is Pro Bowl themed, so get ready for that.
Love it.
Ooh.
Love it. Love it. My favorite day of the year. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for participating. We'll be back next week. Have a great Friday night, everyone. Take care. Be responsible.